Alright, so this time we are looking at the HiFiMAN Ananda planar magnetic headphones, and I wanted to go ahead and start this review in this particular manner, a little differently, just because I need to point out, look at this box. Look at this box. If you can see the materials used here, like look at that. I mean, it's so nice. Look at this. And then the tab, HiFiMAN, and it's got the Ananda labeling right there, the model, and it's so nice. And then when you open it, as you can see, when we open it, the HiFiMAN Ananda headphones are just resting there so beautifully. Just wanted to point out right away, these are my unit. I went ahead and purchased these. They were not sent to me by HiFiMAN at all. And they have nothing to do with this other than the fact that, well, they made the headphone. Let's go ahead and not waste any time. Let's jump into this. So, when you buy the headphone, the HiFiMAN Anandas, you get the headphones themselves, HiFiMAN Ananda. You get this pretty short, it is a dual 3.5 tip ring sleeve cable to L-shaped 3.5 tip ring sleeve on the other end, the amp end. It also comes with this 1/4 inch adapter that is also tip ring sleeve, and it also comes with this longer version of that cable. This is the, well, it's just a 1/4 inch cable. It's literally, there's no adapter, it is literally just that termination. So if you want something more robust, not something that's, something that's a little less prone to breaking, you do have that. And also these are dual 3.5 TRS connectors headed to the headphone as well, of course. Last of all, you do get the owner's manual. In case you've never owned a headphone in your life before, HiFiMAN's got you covered. Now you know. Cool. Let's jump into the build quality here. Look, as usual with HiFiMAN's more recent offerings, it is actually excellent, like actually excellent. The headphone is mostly made of metal. The yokes, top of the headband, and grill covers are entirely metal. The size adjustment mechanisms right here and the cups themselves are made of plastic. The suspension strap is made of pleather up top right here, as you can see, and a sort of rough velour at the bottom. I don't know if you can see right there. You can see right there, it's sort of a rough velour. Now the maneuverability of the cups vertically lie somewhere in between easy and hard. It's not exactly like, immediately gonna be like incredibly loose, but it's not very tough to move either, so you can very easily put these on and then take them off. Well, in theory. Unlike tradition though, the cables are not absolutely horrible this time. I just wanted to go ahead and point that out. Now don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean they're good, that just means they're not terrible. They really aren't. As you can see, they're a transparent type of cable where you can see the cabling inside. This feels very squishy, much kind of like it literally feels like a mini hose. Like I could water my plants with these and listen to music through the hose at the same time. Beautiful. It doesn't keep its shape that well, which is a good thing. And the connectors are all very rugged and tough. This is actually like one of the better components of HiFiMAN's products. The connectors themselves, the terminations are incredible. Now, I did point out the box at the beginning of the review. Yeah, that's actually one of the best boxes that I have ever received with a headphone to date. It's almost good enough to be used as a display box, although the particular shape of the inside is kind of prevented from being one. If you modified it a bit, this can actually be a really great box. I'm pretty impressed, but it's not the best. Now, as far as the comfort's concerned, it's a bit of a toss-up here. These have quite the clamp force to them. They really do. They practically will not move out of their spot, even if you're headbanging. The pads are very, very thick, although they're not extremely plush. That doesn't mean they're uncomfortable. That's just like, they don't sink in too much. Like you put them on, they're pretty much just like that same shape. They don't sink at all, or practically none. So it's great if you're moving around a lot, but not if you're just sitting up straight at a desk setup. And I can kind of see why they kind of made the Bluetooth version of the Anandas, because that is kind of interesting. Now, because of that clamp force, the sides of your head will start to become sore quite quickly. Because the cups are so massive though, the pads will never pinch my ears at all. For planars, the Ananda are actually quite light, especially considering the size. I do find it particularly hard to put on or take these off. Because of the tall cup size and the particular design of the yokes and the headband, I always end up having to reapply them more than once, and then pinching my hair with my fingers every time I have to adjust to remove them. Like I can't, well, grab them like this because look at that. I have to grab them like this. So it's kind of this weird, like I'm flexing my back muscles trying to put them on like this, and it's just, it's weird. Really is weird. Now let's jump into the sound quality. The following tests were performed using the provided 4th inch single-ended cable without any EQ applied, so do take note of that. As far as the bass is concerned, it's a bit on the forward side, but it is with great texture, a bit more like a brick wall rather than a wave. Bass extension left me a bit disappointed. The string bass definitely does not obstruct other instruments and has a somewhat thick slab kind of timbre to it. An example, Zealots of Stockholm. The pulsating rumble felt throughout the first minute of the track was very lackluster, honestly. At the minute 26 mark, the bass note here didn't have as much detail to it, but was heard for what particular note it was a bit more clearly than kind of what I'm used to. Now the sprinkle on top of that was definitely present as well. Now the 307 mark, the bass note during the bass valley was present throughout a decent portion of that dip. However, it's not as much as I would have hoped for. Now, as far as mids are concerned, the female vocals are forward, although they're not extremely forward. They do come with the caveats of being too forward. For example, they are too sharp and strident. The cellos are detailed enough, but are also too nasal for my taste. I definitely would not call these, natural or accurately so. Now, another example, Titanium by Postmodern Jukebox. Von Smith's voice was clear and forward, but it did not have that warmth to it as it usually does. It's a tiny little nitpick, but it was just a little something, I didn't really like that. But now we get to the treble, and now we get to the gripes. Okay, so there's definitely some sibilance up top here, especially with the S's and TH range. Look, when I fired up Bangarang, my teeth hurt a little. I fired it up and it exploded. How about that? It definitely has that HiFiMAN silvery treble response to it, which is, again, it's a characteristic, it's a quirk. Whether you see it as a pro or a con is up to you. It's entirely a preference thing. But when you combine it with a forward treble response, it ends up being ridiculously painful. It's not ridiculously painful here, but it's definitely not. It was definitely more abrasive than non-abrasive for sure. The culprit is a massive peak around the 9K mark. Again, I can't with the treble heavy tracks. Now look, extensions, alright. Extension's pretty good. And well, there's definitely presence in the treble side, but there's nothing, I can't really find any redeeming qualities in the treble at stock frequencies. Like it just, Now we get the soundstage and imaging. The soundstage is definitely wide. It is wide. Well, it's decently wide. But it's quite tall, which, well, makes sense considering the cup size and shape. Imaging is actually quite impressive. For example, Hotel California. At 351, the percussion going from right to left in those three particular main areas is heard quite clearly, and I was able to even track the trail after it trails off. Like, you don't just hear it here, here, and here. You hear it travel from here, but also make the loudest sounds at where you would normally hear them. Now, as far as notes and observations go, before we get to the conclusion, okay, this is pretty important. I have a ceiling fan, and whenever I put these on, I believe the wind actually pushes on the left driver, which is where the wind would hit it from, because it's spinning. If you're looking at upwards, it's spinning counterclockwise, which would end up hitting me on the left side, mainly, and it causes a quiet wobble sound. As far as I can tell, this does not affect sound quality whatsoever, but do note that you may hear this noise during more quiet passages in tracks, or even if nothing is playing. So if you have like a tower fan or some sort of fan right next to you keeping you cool, I would second guess these, because you're definitely going to hear that wobble sound, especially if it's playing like to your left or to your right and hitting you directly like that. You're definitely going to hear that sound. Now, because I happen to have these in-house, I figured I may as well try some EQ out and see what happens. it essentially turned the Ananda into an entirely different beast. Like, they still keep their V-shaped sound, they still have that silvery treble, but within a reasonable amount. They don't sound overly bright or peaky 98% of the time, and I can actually listen to Bangarang with these. But yeah, like, just do keep in mind, they're not so many, they're not like small adjustments that just kind of fix a little issue here and there. This essentially just turned it into an entirely different headphone altogether. Now the conclusion. Look, this is a great offering from HiFiMAN, but it definitely comes with its quirks. Definitely does. If it weren't for that insane treble peak, these could quite honestly compete with a lot of headphones in that price range. I wouldn't opt for these as my first choice. Keep in mind that if you do opt for the Ananda, be prepared to utilize that EQ. They really need it. So now to end this video, a quick message to HiFiMAN. I understand that part of your signature sound is that silvery timbre to the treble, and I appreciate it. I do, you know, it's what makes you guys special. However, if you bundle that up with a generally forward or somewhat peaky treble response, it's a recipe for disaster. Unfortunately, the Ananda ended up being Exhibit A or B or C or what have you, but it's definitely not preferable. You know, it's just a quick note for next time. If you want to keep that silvery timbre to it, don't make these too treble forward. Anyways, that's going to do it for me. Go ahead and like, subscribe, comment down below if you have any questions. Don't forget, I do have a Patreon, so if you'd like to go on it and go and support me in any way, I can push these videos out a little faster, and I can get more expensive examples. Like I can get more headphones in at a time because my budget would actually allow that. So, rather than being a starving college student, I would be a starving college student with help. So I'd appreciate that. Anyways, hope this video helped you out. Hope it helped your purchasing decision, and I will see you all in the next one.